You know you've messed up when the vagina egg lady knows more about nutrition than you do. Bobby Parrish, aka FlavCity. He's the guy who walks around grocery stores pointing out how toxic all the food is.
Natural flavor, just avoid it.
Well, it's not just food. He thinks formula is bad too.
I know, there's a nationwide shortage of formula still, but have you seen the ingredients in most? They're not the best. The good news is there are some better ones.
Moms and dads are still struggling to find formula to feed their kids, and he decides to demonize the food they can't find. Most of the comments on this reel criticize him for this, for being so insensitive, but there are some defenders. Education is not shaming. If you feel shamed, that's a personal problem. Can't be mad at someone for sharing a truth just because you don't like it. I see what they're saying. The truth is the truth no matter how we feel about it. But is what Bobby says about infant formula the truth? No, almost everything he says is false.
But take, for example, something like this. The first ingredient is non-fat milk. That milk is not organic. That milk is not non-GMO, meaning the milk is GMO. It comes from cows that eat GMO grain. I would never eat GMOs. I wouldn't want infants doing that either. Strike number one.
GMO means genetically modified organism. Most soy and corn and cotton have been genetically modified. What does that mean? It means the genetic makeup, the DNA of the food has been altered to produce a desired outcome. That could be increased yield. It could be better quality food. So BT corn is just corn that's been engineered using a gene from the BT bacterium. This gene allows the corn to produce a protein that is toxic to this guy, the European corn borer. It effectively makes the corn bulletproof to corn borer injury while also improving grain quality, increasing yields, and reducing insecticide use. And this isn't new. BT corn was introduced in 1996, Roundup Ready soy earlier than that, 1994. So GMOs have been in the food supply for close to 3 decades now, which means that if they were harmful, as Bobby suggests,
I would never eat GMOs.
We would probably know by now. Instead, all of the evidence points to GMOs being safe for consumption. They're effectively no different from non-modified crops. Many foods have to undergo extensive testing before entering the market, at least here in the US, and that goes for many genetically modified foods as well. Unfortunately, this means lots of testing on rats and mice. But anyway, the soy Brazil nut story showcases this process pretty well. Back in the 90s, scientists added a gene from Brazil nuts to increase methionine production in soy. Because some people are allergic to Brazil nuts, they wanted to see if this modified soy, modified with the 2S gene from Brazil nuts, caused a reaction in people allergic to Brazil nuts. Unfortunately, it did. And you know what happened next? They stopped the project. They stopped working on it, and Brazil nut modified soy never reached market. It never got close to store shelves. Point is, there is no evidence whatsoever that GMOs are harmful.
Strike number one.
He moves on to another Enfamil product, Infacare, which is actually for premature babies. Premature babies often have special needs, which is why they have special formula. Treating this formula as just any old infant formula, I think shows how little he knows or cares about feeding infants.
See the sweetener in here? It's corn syrup solids. Why would they put corn syrup in an infant formula? Because they're trying to mimic the sweetness of breast milk, mother's milk. Well, that sweetness is lactose. This is the opposite of that. GMO corn syrup, which is addictive and lights up your brain in the way of a drug. To give this to an infant, pretty bad.
So much happening here. So first, yes, they use corn syrup solids for sweetness, but it's more than that. Again, this product is specifically for preemies. Premature babies are more likely to have transient lactase deficiency. It's a temporary condition after they're born that makes it harder for them to digest lactose. And there is still lactose in this product, but I would guess that's why it isn't providing all of the sugar, because it's for premature babies. If you look at the regular Enfamil formula, it's all lactose. And obviously some babies cannot handle lactose at all. So, thank God for corn syrup solids so these babies can eat. Second, corn syrup is the opposite of lactose.
Well, that sweetness is lactose. This is the opposite of that.
I don't know what that is supposed to mean. Corn syrup is basically just glucose. Lactose is glucose and galactose. That's what our bodies break lactose down into. What? Third, the little references here are specifically talking about high fructose corn syrup. Again, corn syrup is glucose, not fructose. To make high fructose corn syrup, you do start with corn syrup, but you need an additional step. You add enzymes to convert some of that glucose to fructose. And fourth, high fructose corn syrup lights your brain up like a drug.
Corn syrup, which is addictive and lights up your brain in the way of a drug.
What Bobby doesn't tell you is that no clinical trials have been conducted showing that high fructose corn syrup is addictive. The previous research that the Forbes article he quotes is referring to is animal-based. It's on rats. And the latest study the article focuses on is also on rats. And it's not really about high fructose corn syrup being addictive, but high fructose corn syrup possibly dampening the rat's response to opioids. And again, rats, not people. Also, these are the first and second results when you Google high fructose corn syrup addictive. So I'm imagining whoever edited this literally Googled high fructose corn syrup addictive and then picked the first two because that's the easiest. I mean, I can't really blame them. At the end of the day, Bobby has his name on this. It's up to him to make sure the information is accurate. To be clear, I'm not saying high fructose corn syrup isn't addictive. I wouldn't be surprised if at one point in the future we define all like ultra processed, highly palatable foods as somewhat addictive, quasi-addictive. Food isn't crack, obviously, but if someone wants to stop eating Pringles, but they can't stop themselves from eating Pringles, that's something like an addiction, right? Not that it matters because, again, the formula contains corn syrup, not high fructose corn syrup.
To give this to an infant, pretty bad.
To shame mothers and fathers for choosing healthy infant formula when you don't even know the difference between glucose and fructose, pretty bad.
But Bobby, I buy organic formula. Well, that's good because like it says, it's organic, so it's non-GMO milk. But look at the oils used in here. Organic palm oil, soybean oil, sunflower, safflower oil. They're trying to mimic the fat content of mother's milk, but these, even though they're organic, are highly processed, highly inflammatory, highly refined, and those kind of oils are also bad for the gut. A baby has the most gut microbiome they're ever going to have at that age. To start destroying it with those ingredients is bad news.
So aside from palm oil, he's talking about seed oils because of course he is. To me, being anti-seed oil is like being anti-fat. It lacks all nuance and I think shows how little the person knows about nutrition. Seed oils, along with vegetable oils in general, is a really broad category. Some are better than others. Palm and coconut are high in saturated fat, probably not a health food. But soybean oil is a good source of omega-3s. It's been linked to numerous health benefits. Sunflower and safflower oils are also generally considered healthy and good to cook with. These oils are not inflammatory, quite the opposite. Even the people at Goop are aware of this. You know you've messed up when the vagina egg lady knows more about nutrition than you do. And the evidence for these oils negatively affecting our gut microbiome is virtually non-existent. Even the people who promote this can only point to one study on mice and one kind of, sort of, not really related study in humans. The issue with seed oils, as with most foods, is how you consume them. Are you using some sunflower oil to saute some veggies, or are you getting it from a bag of potato chips? And the issue with being anti-seed oil isn't avoiding seed oils. You don't have to eat them. You can certainly choose whole fat sources like avocado and nuts and seeds. That's definitely better. You're getting more nutrients that way. The issue, number one, is the misinformation, but also it's that anti-seed oil people like Bobby, they don't really want you to replace oils with nuts and seeds. They want you to replace it with animal fats because saturated fat is good. Actually, replacing unsaturated fats with saturated fats is exactly the thing you don't want to do. The evidence is crystal clear on this. Finally, he says these oils are highly processed and refined, which seems like the same thing, and also good. It's good that they are. That's what you want for tiny babies. They don't have a mature digestive system like we do. It's why the lactose is replaced with simple sugar, with corn syrup.
But what's the good news? There are way better ones that are not perfect, but way better. Try getting something called Serenity Kids, made with 100% grass-fed milk. How about organic Laluca or organic Hip from Europe? Those are way better than these options. Just keep in mind what you're putting in your infant at this age is very important.
So the first one is not infant formula, it's supplementary formula for toddlers. Great start. The second one is actually for infants, but look at the ingredient list. Sunflower oil. Wasn't he just telling us how inflammatory and damaging that is to the gut? The third one is also for infants and also has sunflower oil as well as palm oil, which they admit can interfere with nutrient absorption. One of the reasons we prefer Similac soy, no palm. So why are these way better than what you can find at the store? Non-GMO, literally doesn't matter. No corn syrup. A lot of the brands, a lot of the options at the grocery store don't have corn syrup. So again, spreading the truth, even if it makes people feel bad, can still be a good thing. I'm sure saying obesity is unhealthy makes people feel bad, but it's true. I'm sure telling people about the horrors of factory farming makes them feel really bad about eating meat, but it's true. And if these infant formulas were really unhealthy, moms like me should know that. But they aren't unhealthy, which means this,
to give this to an infant, pretty bad.
Is just shaming. Making moms and dads feel bad and worry about the health of their babies on top of everything else they're already worrying about for no reason. Not to mention the wasted resources. Again, the brands he recommends are way more expensive. If moms and dads are switching to those, it's a waste of money. To end on a positive, again, there's a lot of pushback here. Virtually every single comment is like, what the fuck, bro? And it's not just this post, his most recent, which, oh my God. Of course, he's promoting something. He sells some supplements, but he's like on a plane next to people who are coughing. And instead of, putting on a mask, he pulls out the supplements because that's gonna... What? And virtually every comment is like, what, just wear a mask. So that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much to my patrons at patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. I do still have a sale going on my shirts and totes and coffee mugs, so you can check that out. The code is holiday20. And yeah, that's it for me. Thanks again, guys. New video soon. And even if this were like information and not misinformation, I don't know how people stand watching something like this with the constant little like clip art looking shit. Every single word he says, there's like a new one popping up. What? Maybe his audience is full of children? That would explain a lot, actually.